Yeah, I mean, shout out to Doliek, right, for being the only player so far to be able to break the trial of RDU and Habu Gabu and be able to pick up a first place, because it does not seem like the easiest thing to do right now with some of these monstrous comps that they are putting together. But straight away, we join
Wow.
lobby number 6, and Sir Salty has all the options in the world available to him. For me, though, Gia, hard to get away from Maiev still, even after the nerf.
It's true. I mean, he does have a very difficult pick here because I am such a fan of Jandis as well. We can see for this lobby there are no mechs and no demons. Do you think that influences the power level of Jandis in any way?
It certainly used to, right? When mechs were out, that was the biggest deal because you didn't have the
Right.
Pogo lobby. Now, these days, I think Murlocs is the M word that you're looking for in that opening group for the most powerful thing that you're able to do. And if Murlocs are there, then Jandis is certainly still a very, very powerful pick. But for me, Maiev, I think, is still perhaps top tier, perhaps the very best hero in the game still, even despite the nerf.
That's absolutely what Sir Salty needed to cement the orange team's lead on the rest of the field. But we do see for RDU here, perhaps the first low-tier hero that he's hit in a hot minute. And I don't honestly know what the Eudora dig curve looks like anymore. I suppose if you have a token, it's as simple as digging and buying on one. But if he hadn't hit a token, do you think it was dig or buy?
Yeah, I also don't have that much experience with Eudora since the nerf. All I know is that the times that I picked her up, I've tried to play, similarly to how I did before, which was digging on one, and it did not work out pretty well. So maybe that is absolutely just not the way anymore, and you're supposed to play a little bit longer and delay the hero power for that one extra turn. But the problem with me is it feels like if you're not digging on one, and you have the extra dig that you have to get in now, how often are you just dead before you even get a second activation of your hero power, right? Let alone a third at that point if you're delaying it for so long. So for me, I think if you pick that hero, you pick them to dig, and digging is what you should do.
So we will see if RDU manages to stay alive long enough to be able to get all the value. He did have the double token start, which is very promising, but Sir Salty also with some well-statted minions to hit with the Maiev hero power and some slight Murloc synergy, picking up a pair as well with the Lieutenant. Seems like he's in a good position.
Friend.
Does indeed. He is going to be running into this Deathwing now, who we saw on turn 1 with the refreshing anomaly. So the fact that he's picked up the extra minion will mean that he's going to pick up a small win here.
Very telling about Deathwing's opening shop that they were not able to get a token or even a Divine Shield minion, because I feel like that's something you would prioritize with Deathwing. Izium on the Omu here, we do have to take note this is Sir Salty's partner, so this is the team that is in the best shot to try and get second place, and they're also facing each other.
Yeah, facing each other is the real kicker here, because now they have the opportunity for maximum greed. They'll be talking about all sorts of possibilities here, right? Like, can Omu greed a level here and still tie the fight? Like, that kind of thing. Like, all of these things have to come into mind as to what the most efficient thing to do this turn is.
And he does end up just banking the money for now, which will mean that Izium's curve later on will be a bit smoother. They did give themselves...
Guaranteed?
100% high, I believe, and very, very well situated. I mean, it's simpler to calculate that type of thing early on in the game, but it's still not the easiest thing to do with that amount of time that they have.
Yeah, and I do want to reiterate once again, I think this balance between partners when you fight each other to minimize damage is really one of the key aspects and one of the most skill testing aspects of the tournament. And as much as we've been memeing about RDU and Habu Gabu kind of getting the blessings of Bob on their side, I also think they have been by far the best pairing at engineering those sorts of situations, even in very complicated late game scenarios as well.
True. Light language barriers might also play a role for some of the teams, because not every team is composed of 2 members with the same first language.
Yeah,
For Izium here, it was an interesting last shop where he could have looked at the double party elementals, but he did end up rolling down and gets the stasis with Arcane Assistant.
I get baited by Party Elemental all the time. Like it just seems so much better than it ever actually ends up being. I do think now it's a little bit stronger, a little bit more pleasing to pick up, just because of that extra stat that it picked up in the buffs. But yeah, I think throwing it down there when you don't really have any indication that you want to be pushing elementals long term is a little bit baity.
No, I agree. I mean, I take it all the time, but then I realize that it's just such a detriment to its power level that it can buff the elemental that you immediately play
Yep.
down, which is often something you want to cycle, like Elemental. So
Yep.
it's nowhere near guaranteed to buff the elementals that you actually wanted, like the Crackling Cyclones. For RDU though, I assume that he's dug every turn, and so it's gonna be this turn where it finishes, right?
Yeah, this should be it.
And he is about to face off against typical Hanzo, which is not his teammate, so I'm not sure about the hesitation here. He goes for a roll, though.
Yeah, he's going to hold it and get greedy for the next turn. He doesn't necessarily want to trigger and get a 4-drop. He wants to potentially try and push that level, get a greedier minion, push for a 5 on the following turn.
I mean, that is certainly something you can do when you're at 40 health as Eudora,
yep.
which seems like such a luxury in this type of meta with a hero that doesn't actually gain you any tempo benefits until the mid-game.
And it does beg the question, though. Obviously, things have changed, right? Because he's here on 40 health, so that might change his perspective. But if he didn't want to dig for a dig on 3 into a 4-drop in the first place, you don't need to hero power on turn 1 if you don't want to do that, right? Because then your turn is offset by that one turn naturally anyway, and you can do it the other way. But again, situation has changed. He managed to get to this point with 40 health still. Oh!
The Golden Zeros! The one time somebody picks Eudora and they get the memeiest minion possible.
I mean, you always wait here, right? You always wait.
32 health.
RDU, streamer at heart, first place for a mile. Dictated he's already going to be in Sunday at this point. It has to go astronomically wrong. There is no way you don't make the streamer play here. Playing this Xerus is a sin, RDU. You cannot do it.
Right. Who wants a 5-drop when you can go for a golden 6-drop?
Exactly.
I just want to know what he is asking Habugabu here, because I am pretty sure he's asking the same question you did. You always wait here, right? And Habugabu's just trying to say, up to you, man. I don't want any part of this.
What he's asking Habugabu is, how confident are you that we've already qualified? Because I'm about to straight up throw this game, okay?
This is going to be a ton of damage sunk in by Alexis Diesel on the Alec here. And you know what? This feels like just dessert. Everybody's been getting bullied by RDU on 8 gold, 9 gold. It's time for RDU to get a bit of revenge coming his way.
Alright, let's go. What's it going to be?
Drum roll.
Oh! What?
That's pretty good.
You level, right? That's 2 golden, that's 2 6-drops. That's a triple into a triple. No,
go back
immediately. No, wait, don't go back. Stay here. Stay here. This is what I want to see.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we can piece together RDU's turn after the fact, but it's not often that we get to watch a full Chadgar turn in all its glory.
Finally, Gia. Oh, TJ, I'm sorry I doubted you. You knew what was up immediately. Khadgar picking up another 5 here. He's looking for a Mama Bear first and foremost, so that he can kind of have one strong turn with the tokens. Has another opportunity now with the second Murloc Tidehunter.
Yeah, the Genie is still a good pickup, but unfortunate the way the offers of the 5-drops were given to him, because if he had seen Genie first, then I believe he would have taken a Baron as another option. But there's the Baron still.
Okay. Picks up a Toxfin just to try and save himself some health potentially here. And then Murazon's into another Toxfin. There's no way that you have time for another Murloc Tidehunter this turn. Okay, yeah, it's going to hold. It's going to hold.
Yeah, he's going again next turn, which means that we can see what happened with RDU's board. I am so curious. What did he end up picking? And what did he get from the Murazon? Double Little Rag in hand.
Yeah, so we didn't quite get to finish how ludicrous that is, but when you get a golden Murazon, you steal a minion from your last opponent, but it is also golden. So that's essentially 2 triples for you. You play the golden Murazon, you discover a 6-drop, then you play the golden minion that you steal from your opponent, then you discover another 6-drop. So that is arguably the single best golden minion in the game that RDU hit first roll off his golden Xerus.
And that is why Sottle was saying you always level here, because it gives you 2 shots at a premium 6-drop.
Yep.
And he also has the gas coiler from, I guess, another golden minion that he got at some point. I saw the golden Murlocs. RDU, once again, looking like a runaway favorite for this lobby, but Syned on the Nosdormu with the Genie.
Okay. That's huge.
Yeah. this is still really big. He can go for even more of
Wait.
top cost minions.
Don't like this. I think he should have led with the Murlocs here if he's discovering more 5-drops, because he can pick up the Mama Bear to then make massive Tabby Cats after the fact.
I agree. If he was going to go for it in this order, there was maybe some potential to spend gold and level, and then just discover 6 drops, but you can see here that he is picking up... It looks like genies are on the mind for him, not so much the Mama Bears.
That's very fair, yeah. But there's no real downside to doing it the other way that I can think of, so I still, like, personally would have preferred to do it that way around. Finds himself a brand now as well. That is the other huge one, because now, obviously, his tokens just absolutely print triples for him at this point.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy. That means that he just has to make the tough decision of when is enough in this situation, because the Khadguard train takes up a lot of board space for you to be able to actually get all of the triples. I think you need 4 free board spaces to actually print all the triples, and now it looks like he's got enough value generation from the genies by themselves, so we could see him go for either a Murloc strat or an Elemental strat from this point with the brand already.
That's right. Yeah, when you have both Khadgar and Bran, you basically get to keep 1 minion, and then everything else has to be sold away to make space for all of the triple generation. But step number 1 right now is just to stay alive and try and preserve as much health as possible. And honestly, 2 1-3s coming off his Ginny is not really helping him stay alive. That's the business, though! That's more like what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that is a board-wide buffer. Unfortunately, the extra spawns from Khadgar don't enter your hand. It's just the ones that come from Baron, or if you're Lich King, the ones that come from the Reborn Genie, because that's technically still a Genie itself.
Yes. Constructed logic. Khadgar has the word summon on it, and you do not summon minions if they're in your hand. They're only summoned when they're on the board.
Right, so in terms of what he's looking for now, like you said, you only get to keep 1 minion if you want to keep printing the triples, and I definitely don't think he wants to sell these genies with the Baron combo, so it's definitely looking for Nomi now from my perspective.
It's very fair, sure. Does look like he is just taking the time off. He looks fairly happy with his lot right now, at least for a couple of turns. But he does still have that Alley Cat in hand, which just has to be so tempting. It's so many triples already, just straight up, right? With 1 Bran and a golden Khadgar. That's already so many triples off 1 Alley Cat. And now with another one in the shop, okay, you have to go again next turn now, I think.
Yeah, it's just really tough to say what 6 drops can justify you actually giving up the genies, which, strangely enough, the genies are not his value engine. That's the way he's winning the board right now with the Khadgar and the Baron combo. And so if you go for the triple printer and don't hit the immediately impactful 6 drops onto the board, you could have that 1 turn where you take too much damage and all the fun is for nothing.
That is true. You do get to keep 1 minion though, which is nice. You can keep the bigger genie, or you could keep the poison Murloc just to give yourself that nice secure board state. And like, you are going to get so many 6 drops here. Like, you could end this turn with a golden rag quite comfortably, you know? So like, things are going to scale very, very quickly from this point if he gets it all right.
TJ asking us if we want to move to a different player. We do not. There's a golden Khadgar and 2 brands. I would like to see how this actually plays out. When's the turn that he is going to cash in, or if he's just going to move off of the triple printer strategy entirely. But we do see that 2 players have fallen off, though. Izium is the big one here because him and Sir Salty were definitely relying on cementing their second place.
Murazond as well, picking up double water droplet there, which is now a potential triple with that Celemental, but he goes ahead and just sells one of the Celementals first. Just dodges a triple there somehow, okay.
Really?
Fine.
That's strange. I mean, that's the 1 triple that you don't need to give up board space for.
Yep.
I figured that would be really premium, but it looks like it's because he doesn't have very much time to think about the turn at all, which is very fair. When you go for this big Khadgar strategy, you need to commit and use every single millisecond up.
Yeah, he just wanted to roll down all of his gold as efficiently as possible there to try and find the 3rd Bran, ideally, right? That would have been the dream scenario. He would have been able to get like 30 or 40 triples this turn, like straight up, like genuinely. If he had golden Bran, golden Khadgar, and all of that gold available.
Hey, it's triple.
That's probably just bad. You won't actually have time to play any of the triples.
There's no way. There's no way he makes this. I'm calling it now, Gia. This is going to be a disaster turn.
There's 8 seconds! Can you do anything?
He's dead. He's just dead. There's no way. He's going to rope.
Yeah, there is no way he's staying alive. Oh, dying with 4 triple discovers in hand, even more? I don't know. Just spending the gold on leveling.
Wait. DC.
Did he actually... Oh.
DC.
Okay, we are just massively desynced.
Yep.
It's not Lil Rag? How many of these actually hit the board though? Baron Goldrin, alright.
Play him.
Malgadon is a beast.
So yeah, I think this is specifically what Sined went for here, because he chose to keep the Baron as his one minion, right? We were talking about the Genie potentially, or we were talking about the Poison Murloc potentially, but he held on to the Baron. So I think you can see from what he ended up picking, it was heavily lent towards Beast composition, right? So I think that's where he wanted to end up there with the Golden Great Wolf. But Habu Gabu finally is going to bite the dust there, going down to Sined. His Dragon comp is going to go down. And now Oliek here on the Refarm is going to be going up against the Ghost fight here as well, against, I believe that's a deactivated Deathwing that he's queued up against here, which is the dream Ghost fight, because normally Deathwing is a free win that you are playing against.
That is such a huge win there. And for Sined in particular, the desync, just keeping us on our toes till the very last second, is a huge thing. From Oliek, he does have the makings of a similar comp with 2 Poison Beasts at the moment, but he also has this relatively big Gar. I'm not sure about the direction he goes from here, and he does take the time to just level because, as you said, the deactivated Deathwing is almost a free win.
Yep.
So in terms of direction, I suppose he would still pick up a Goldrin if it were available to him, but now with all these Murloc discoveries, we could also just see him go for Poison Murloc.
Yeah, it's very much looking that way. Ends up just picking up a pair of Rockpool Hunters off the Primal Fin, obviously trying to hoard for maybe another potential triple down the line here.
It's interesting that he's had a Gold Grubber stick around for this long with only 1 golden minion on board. It feels like that's been here for a very long time then.
Yes.
And he's had the Crackling Cyclone from the early game as well. But we now go back to Sined, RDU, Golden Lil Rag.
Insane. Yeah, I mean, I kind of forgot we spent so much time watching the Khadgar strat coming together there that I totally forgot about the insane high roll on the Golden Murazon coming out again from RDU, but he's actually finding himself in trouble here against just how huge Sined is this turn, and he is going to be biting the dust here, it looks like, because his one remaining Gascoiler is already over-contested by Sined's Gascoiler, let alone everything else that's going on.
True, this needs to have some amazing spawns. And there's still a way that it can go okay for him, where the Baron and the Brand die, but not the Gascoiler, so it's not lethal damage there. I do believe RDU's second dig was just a little red whelp. Not the greatest, but still impressive to make top 4 with Eudora, because we did just see Sir Salty, unfortunately, biting the dust there despite a pretty strong Maiev start. And that means a bottom 4 finish for both him and teammate Izyum.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to continue to go back and forth between the bottom 3 teams. It sounds bad to refer to them in that way, but you know, it's kind of what they are, with RDU and Habu Gabu running away with it. Salty and Izyum had the insane performance in the previous lobby, pushed themselves back into second, but now based on both players finishing outside of the top 8, it looks like they will lose that second place now with 2 lobbies left to play.
And it says something about the state of your board where you can pick up a Gold Grubber after like how many turns that late into the game. It's still going to be buffed up to a pretty impressive stat line. There has been so much action in this game that no matter what player you want to follow, there's another person to see. So don't forget that if you want to follow any particular player, they are streaming, most of them, on their personal accounts. You can find them on Twitch, most of them.
Huge poison board generated here from Oliek this turn. You saw him holding onto that Rockpool Hunter pair from the Primal Fin on the previous turn, which I do think is fairly smart in retrospect. I believe he turned down a Bagurgle just to pick up a second Rockpool, but I actually like that decision on reflection, because he was going to end up poisoning whatever Murloc he picked up anyway, so the size of the Murloc doesn't really matter. Having a cheap and efficient pair that's very common, to be able to roll into another Amalgadon or something like that is actually probably a much bigger deal.
tell you what did matter though, the size of the Gar having 1 more HP than the Crackling Cyclone did have attack was really big, because that means the Crackling did not survive to potentially kill off 1 more minion, and 1 minion is the difference here with RDU able to take down Oliesh. That was an extremely close fight.
And that means RDU is going to push all the way to top 2 again off the back of that Golden Murazond. And now here we are, Gia. We have come full circle, potentially back to the point where it could be RDU against Sined here, the 2 players who have done absolute absurd things. But it's looking, now that we join the fight, like this Gar, this wind-furied Gar that the Alakir has on the other side is going to be chewing through all of this remaining board state from Sined. A valiant effort, and he is now my favorite player in this tournament as the only person to have gone Brand Khadgar so far on either of the days. But it's good enough for a top 4, but not going to be good enough, it looks like, to get him into top 2.
The fact that it has Wind Fury on it is so big, because that means that the minions get swept up before the Amalgam or the Lil Rag could potentially suicide themselves into the remaining minions from Sined's board, which means it is just lethal damage straight up from Alexis on the Alakir.
Alexis Diesel drops the Golden Amalgadon as well. I'm not sure what the state of his 2 initial Amalgadons that he combined into that were, but probably we're looking at, you know, only 1 having Poison, 1 having Divine Shield, something like that. Maybe neither of them being particularly good, because it's very rare to see a Amalgadon get tripled in most positions.
That's true. Without mechs in the pool, I can understand the justification if you wanted to put Divine Shield and didn't get it, but the fact that he had Toxfin in hand means that he does have to pick up another Murloc, and he did put it on the Felfin Navigator. I suppose the only thing he's really looking for here is maybe Selfless Heroes to replace the Genie, because we are entering the final stages of the game.
That's right. Yeah, and there is that Selfless Hero. Very, very big deal. This is the reason behind the nerf. It's just way too powerful in the late game. When it was a Tavern 1 minion, you just saw it every single time, and every single late game battle looked like this with the Poisonous minions and the Selfless Heroes coming down. So increasing the rarity, there's a very big deal. But look at the size of RDU on the other side. But I think these extra Divine Shield Poisonous minions here for Alexis Diesel are going to be able to get the job done.
RDU definitely had the scaling on his minions, but none of them having the insurance of Divine Shield or even token spawners to ping off the Divine Shield on the other side, which means that Alexis Diesel will have a very, very clean win here. And finally, somebody has dethroned the streak of RDU and Habu Gabu's first place finishes, although second is still very impressive for Radu here on a hero that has largely fallen out of the meta, Dora.
Yeah, I mean, it's an insane Eudora performance, right? And I mean that literally. I'm not saying insane as in, like, incredibly good. I'm just saying it was absolutely nuts the way that things panned out. Hitting, delaying for a turn, then hitting Golden Xerus, delaying the Golden Xerus for 1 turn, and then hitting the absolute stone cold nuts. Like, probably quite literally the best golden minion in the game in Murazond coming out from the opponent there. But I think overall, got to pay special attention to the fact that that was a big performance overall from the black team, with Alexis Diesel and Oliek both putting together a top 4 performance. And now Alexis Diesel becomes the second player alongside his teammate to be able to put together a first place, which could be huge for tiebreakers if we go there as well, Gia.
Yes, they started off the day with a first for Oliesh, and now Alexis Diesel has managed to break the streak of first places for Team Red, and they do put themselves in the best position to be the second team, making it to Sunday. But with 2 lobbies remaining, who knows, some miracles could still happen if the orange or blue team can put together an RDU Habu Gabu special of their own of both first and second for the same team. Maybe they can still close the gap.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, this is kind of the inverse of what we had on day 1, where going into our final two lobbies of the day, it felt like we had one team cast away at the bottom who weren't in contention at all for top 2, and the other three teams, were fighting for 2 spots. This is the other way around, where we kind of have one team pretty much out of sight, and then we've got 3 teams still in contention fighting for 1 spot, which, if anything, is even more dramatic. And I think yesterday we had things pan out in the way that was the most dramatic, with both of those players in the final lobby just falling out straight away and leaving all of the live players still to fight it out. I think the most dramatic way this way could end is just if one of those players from each of those teams are all present in the final 4 when we get down to the final lobby. So if I know our script writers, Gia, I think that's what we're going to end up with.
Oh, yes, indeed, Sottle. We've already seen so many exciting things today. We've crossed off the Chadgar transition from your wish list. I've seen Eudora that I really wanted to see, but didn't even know that I needed to see it until it happened. The stars needed to align for RDU to be able to both have the time to even finish the dig and then delay even further by getting Xeris, and then delay even further because he had that one turn where he didn't dig and instead buy a minion. That was absolutely insane. Is there anything else that you are looking forward to seeing with these last two lobbies?
No, I mean, I'm gonna put my feet up to this point. I'm on the short shift today. I'll be Collins coming back in to take you home with Gia for the last two lobbies. So I'm just gonna put my feet up and hope to watch some lobbies really that are up to the standard of the last two or three we have. Because I think honestly, these lobbies in the middle of the day today have been by far the most exciting ones that we've seen throughout both of the days so far. So great expectations to live up to, but I'm sure we'll get there.
That's right, Sottle. Thanks for joining us on the casting desk. And thank you to all the viewers that you'll be joining as you watch the last two lobbies. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back after this.